Hi, Kendall. Technology, right? So we are streaming live on YouTube right now. I don't, for some reason, it won't connect all of them on Restream. It wasn't made for Restream, so it's like a workaround.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take that YouTube page video that's streaming now and share that on Facebook through the unbox page. So that'll be our way to do that.
Okay, cool.
I was like, there's always a way around it. We can always find another way.
And see, sometimes you just have to be like, bless technology's heart sometimes,
That is the truth there. Okay. I am glad that this is working though, and at least it's live on YouTube so I can copy it.
Yes.
Move back to my seat here. It's still 2 minutes before noon, so we're good.
Okay, cool.
So I sent you the run of show, the outline. So was there anything in there that you didn't feel comfortable talking about? And especially before, we go on camera, I just want to make sure that there are certain things that we can talk about and we can't talk about. So
yeah, I'm pretty cool. All the questions is pretty much, general. So I'm cool with all the questions.
Awesome. And then how comfortable are you with talking about trans issues, identifying as a trans individual? Are you comfortable speaking on that as well? Because we have some guests who are like, I identify as a woman and I don't want to be, identified as a trans individual.
I don't mind. It's part of my little puzzle piece. So, I embrace every single day. So it's no biggie.
Awesome. That's really good news. So we have another thing that we do to sort of like, break the ice and get us a little bit more relaxed with each other are these super fun deck of cards from Best Self. So we have like hundreds of these, right? So the 3 decks that I picked today were Deeper Talk, Courage Over Comfort, and Intimacy. So, right. I'm gonna ask you a question from one of those. We'll both answer. And which deck would you like? You want the blue one, the red one, or the orange one?
Let's go ahead do blue.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask first because I want to ask an intimacy question. So I'll ask first. So they have a range of colors to pick from. I'm just gonna go with a green one for life. All right. Oh, I really like this. Before I ask you this question, I'm going to go live just because it's a really good question. I just want to, in case people And I think I can tag you.
And you can tag my personal page too. It's my name. So you can do that too.
So are you down in the Capitol today? I've heard that most of the places were closed.
No, I'm actually at home. I decided not to go down to Jeff City this week due to this weather. I mean, it was just horrendous. And you know how small towns is when it comes to lots of snow and everything. So I'm like, oh no, I'm not even gonna risk it. So today the house is in regular session, but the Senate is still out for the remainder of for the rest of the week. So I'm just kind of chilling, keeping up to date what's going on. But yeah, I call this my little snow day still.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, for me getting into the city, I live out in the country, so getting into the city today was I mean, the roads look fine on the interstates, but everybody was like sliding, and I was like, these are not safe roads right now. Oh, there are cars and ditches.
Now, Highway 61 was pretty cool. It was pretty much cleared off yesterday. But when you get on this, like the smaller highways, they were still a little not as well cleaned. So I definitely understand why, especially here, they got school canceled for today and everything, because it'll just be a hot mess if those buses try to drive through that snowy mess.
Oh, yeah. This morning I was like, it's still snowing. What? Oh, my car's covered in snow again. I am so over this.
Yeah. And see, I have a winter birthday, and I tell people I rather have either a spring birthday or a fall birthday, because this is the 4th year now that it has snowed. And so I'm just like, I ain't got time for this. I would rather kind of suffer under the heat than dealing with snow and ice and the Antarctic temperatures.
That's for sure. So are you ready for my question?
Yep.
Okay. So what boundaries can we set to protect our relationship and communication from being damaged by technology? I think that's the reason why I thought this question was so interesting, is because 2020 was so like technology was how we were able to communicate and get back together with individuals who we had, we were isolated from. So I was like, wow, that toes into like, how has 2020 like treated you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll read it again. What boundaries can we set to protect our relationship and communication from being damaged by technology?
I think personally, I believe that there is a boundary of privacy as well as public. So there's some cases where situations with yourself or even with family members could be very serious. And I'm the type of person, when a big event's going on, whether good or bad, I would rather keep that low key until everything is resolved. Because when you use technology to broadcast whatever is going on, that can affect you, because not only would there be negative effects for your other people that's close, such as extended family, but at the same time, it'll just look like it's just a hot mess. So that's what I probably recommend, is separating privacy or certain personal affairs, and then allowed to have some form of publicity where it doesn't have negative effects to it.
No, I agree. I think like the first thing I thought of is, that expectation to be on camera. I'm thinking of like allowing people, like for guys, it's a lot easier than it is for women. You don't have to do makeup and fix your hair and pick an outfit. You just throw on a t-shirt, you're fine. And for women, it's a completely different thing. They have to do the social, requirements of getting made up to be out in public, and they're not even leaving their house. They're just doing a Zoom meeting. So I think
that,
that ability to keep your camera turned off, but also with that technology, like setting, boundaries, and when you're comfortable talking to people, you really can control all of that, and that expectation that to do a phone call, to send a text message, to set up a Zoom, FaceTime, or something like that, technology gives us that ability, which 2020 was like heavy on. I mean, it was all, to Friday, that's all we're doing is Zooming. So and we're able to do this. Yeah.
It was a complete 180, around kind of technically around this time last year, going from, being in the public eye to literally being closed into your places of residence, and it was just such a quick and unpredictable change. And I think over time, people kind of started to get acclimated to it. I know it took me a hot minute, but at the same time, we also recognize like there's other things that we didn't realize that was so important. Like for me, I love giving hugs and I love seeing people in person and saying hi and seeing how they're doing. And then, with technology, it has been a blessing, but I miss that, face-to-face physical interaction, because even though FaceTime and Zoom is fantastic, it doesn't do the full job. And some people, I know for sure, including myself, we realized that we took even the smallest things for granted. And now it's a time of remembering even the small things in life make a significant impact.
That's so true. I think, I'm thinking of like the last time, I got to like hang out with friends or like, just have a random dinner party and having people come over. Thankfully, as part of like doing this weekly show, I've been able to see Ace like every week since April. So that's been very nice. So that has been a plus for me. And speaking of Ace, obviously somebody isn't beside me in the chair. So just letting our viewers know, Ace got the second dose of the COVID vaccine yesterday, and he is feeling some of the effects that you get when you get the second vaccine. So when I got the vaccine, I felt just heavy fatigue the next day, which was like very similar to when I had COVID. So that was like an accurate representation, I would say, that your body's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And for Ace, when I got here this morning, it was like, I'm out, like I can't do it. I'm so tired. I get it, like you need to rest. So just for everybody, Ace is doing well. He got his second dose of the vaccine, so that's good news. And he'll be back with us next week. So I want to take this moment before you ask your question, to do an introduction. So I'm Wes with KC Care, and I'm joined by
Kendall Martinez-Wright.
Yes, and Kendall, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what you've been up to, what you're up to now?
Yeah. So hello, everyone. I'm Kendall Martinez-Wright, she, her pronouns. I live in Palmyra, Missouri, and I am the LGBTQ and human rights state advocate and legislative strategist for the state of Missouri. And then on top of that, I am the 2022 candidate for the Missouri House of Representatives, District 5. And I am so excited to jump into this race. It is going to be very historical on so many levels, with me being possibly being the first Afro-Puerto Rican trans woman elected to a statewide position, in the state of Missouri. it screams volumes. And then on top of that, I'll be representing a rural area. So that makes things so much grander. But I do a lot of covering with various policies and legislation in the Missouri State Capitol in Jefferson City, dealing with human rights issues and LGBTQ issues. I have been doing that for over 10 years. And then on top of that, a little brief history of myself. I am a transplant of Chicago, Illinois. So I was born in Chicago, and then my family moved to Palmyra, Missouri when I was very little, mainly just to have a better living situation. Chicago at the time was getting pretty bad. And so Mom took that initiative, packed up our little bit of stuff, took me and my sister. We in Palmyra. I went to Palmyra School Districts, graduated from Palmyra High, after graduating in 2012, I went to Lincoln University in Jefferson City, go LU, and I studied political science during my tenure. I have been active with politics for over 10 plus years, but I didn't really start getting into the nitty gritty until 2015. That was when I took part in one of the many calls to action and organizing efforts, not only statewide, but nationwide. And that has became a catalyst of endless possibilities. I have been working with both sides of the aisle, getting things pushed so then Missourians have a better life. And so I can say without a shadow of a doubt, it has been wonderful doing this work. It's not easy and it's not for the weak, but I can tell you that it showcased so much strength and resilience in me. And I look forward with my campaign to showcase that to the residents of District 5 and let them know that, I have my voice silenced willingly by other people. And I want people to know that if I'm elected, those voices are going to be amplified times a gazillion. Yeah. And I just want to I just excited to be a part of this show. And I thank Wes for inviting me. And I am excited for this conversation.
Well, I'm looking forward to diving into some of those topics that you just addressed and, like some of the history too that led up to where you're at now and that run for public office. But first, I want to make sure that you get a chance to ask your questions. So you have a range of colors to pick from, yellow, green, blue, orange, gray, and a dark blue.
I would do orange.
Orange, nice. This one's called Beliefs. So this is Deeper Talk, the random orange card. What beliefs have you adopted from other people that don't serve you now?
That's a good question. I would say that is a good question. I would say the beliefs that others showed me is liberties, civil liberties. I think when some people talk about civil liberties, it's like it has to be either this way or that way. It can't be no middle ground. I think that is what kind of led me into having more of a middle ground type of approach to civil liberties. I believe that, everybody is given their God-given rights, and we also need to ensure that things are amplified to an extent so then we can be able to have not only a sustainable society, but a continuation of how things are going here in this nation.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. For myself, like I was thinking of beliefs that I have adopted from other people that don't serve me now. I would think, I flash back to, as a child, teenager, growing up, in the Christian faith, that like that belief system doesn't really like serve me now, but there are tenets of that religion or that belief system that I can use to serve. Like I have faith that we are going to reach a state where we have equity and justice, and and we see civil liberties for everyone. Like we're not fighting in the streets, protesting for those rights. I have a belief that that will happen, and I think it's that faith from the same as the individuals draw on their faith to fuel their religion and to drive them in prayer and so forth. I feel the same for a belief in civil liberties, and that we will reach that day. Hopefully it's in our lifetimes, see that we continue on with the struggle even further than we have to. But yeah, that was a deep question. Yeah,
it was.
I was touch on beliefs. Yeah. So I want to talk about this a little first, like COVID has been such a big impact on everybody, and so we've really been like starting the conversations with that and talking about COVID, and we're almost a year on now. So for you, and yourself, like how has COVID impacted you in your daily work, and like how did that change for you?
Yeah. So thank you. COVID definitely shook things up, especially in my line of work. We went almost a month and a half without having session when COVID first happened, and it was rough.
Both houses, like Congress and like Senate and the House of Representatives.
Yes, the State House of Representatives and the Senate. So it was difficult. When it came towards the last portion of session, it was very nitty gritty with pushes of legislation, bad legislation, good legislation, the in between. It was very chaotic. And then personally, it was a huge change. Like I said, I am a type of person. I tell everybody I'm like a unicorn. I'm mixed with the introvert and the extrovert. And so with me, I love being interactive with people on a physical level, whether seeing them face to face or, having getting a hug, or just being in the same space with another person or a group. That was really rough because now we had to not mainly solely rely on technology and the internet to maintain those connections. And then on top of that, I will say I did go through a period of depression. I do have depression, and I let people know, like, there's days where I'm good, it's good, and there's days I'm not so good. And when COVID really hit the US hard, it really placed a sense of not only nervousness and anxiety, but at the same time, just that feeling of emptiness, because it was like the world you knew completely changed. And so what over time I realized, now since I have a niece, I realized that being close to family was very important in everything. From being with my niece to having late night conversations with my mom, it helped me become a better person and grow patient of this pandemic, because I know for sure it's not, we're going to be going through this for a hot minute. And so I had to realize that as long as I have my close people by my side, that will help me continue to be a leader and a figurehead for the people.
I think that's really brave of you to be open about your depression and what you went through during the pandemic, during the height of it, I guess I should say. Is that part of that process where you were able to access services, or is it something that you managed on your own with help from like family and friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I managed it with family and friends. I realized that a part of my emptiness was that interaction. And so when I started talking more with people that I'm close with, like I'm good, like actually my very, very close friend, the former senator and representative Maria Chappelle Nadal, we had literally phone conversations every single day. And we sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for 2.5, 3 hours. And we talked on a wide range of issues, from COVID to what we're watching, or what's going on in the social media world. We was able to have that connection, and it really helped me. And then, of course, like I said, I had family and friends that would, make sure or check in on me, see if I'm okay, and I'll do vice versa. And that really helped, because some people, they don't have those resources. They don't have, especially families, individuals out here, they have literally just their friends as fam, and it opened up my eyes significantly, because I realized not only how fortunate I am, but how I took some of those areas for granted, not knowing that 1 minute it can be all change, it can change completely. And so I think that's what really helped me get over that hump, and just really showcase my positivity.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you touched on something there where you're talking about, having access to friends and family and that ability to do that. And I was thinking for the members of our, community, the LGBTQ plus individuals, it really is, your friends are your family,
Mm-hmm.
and having that close connection and that ability to connect and share, those are the people you do that with. That your family may have ostracized you, or you may not be able to connect with them because they don't accept you for who you are. So you can't really share openly. So I think that is a powerful thing to have friends and family to rely on in those moments. So thinking, touching on that, sort of expanding out from there, when you identify as a trans woman, and then, that's already a marginalized community in the LGBTQ plus, and you add to that, you're a Black trans woman. How did the racial justice protests from the summer of last year impact you? What was your take on those as they moved through?
Yeah, so I participated in a few of the racial justice calls to action. I was in St. Louis that whole time, and it affected me on a level to where I had to have very uncomfortable and very sensitive conversations, especially with people in my hometown. There was some that was, they was proud of me regardless, but they was either confused or didn't really truly understand the magnitude of it. And then when I had to, and then especially now with me identifying as a trans woman, because I've only been out for a little less than a year. So when I came out in June, it was a huge stepping stone, because not only was I dealing with the basis of all things systemically challenging for the Black and Latino communities, but at the same time, I had to realize that I'm a trans woman, and I could literally walk down the street and be mowed down by some crazy wackaloon because they felt like it. They felt like they was in a threat. I was threatening them. And I'm just minding my business. So it really brought into a whole nother perspective of things. And I realized that these conversations, especially when it comes down to to trans women of color, we need to continue having that. We need to educate them and push others to educate themselves. Because if you don't educate yourself and you don't learn about what it means to be a trans woman or a trans male or gender nonconforming, you are willingly putting yourself in an area to ignorance. And that's what's happening. People rather not learn about it because it's either too complex or they simply just don't want to. And sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's really nice.
And so I really felt led essentially to really showcase who I am, not only to my communities or in the surrounding community, but also to people that look just like me. Because there is areas where there was 29 Black trans women that were murdered last year. And when we have the conversations in the African American community about ensuring protection towards trans women, they want to kind of turn the cheek, or they want to be like, why y'all got to focus on that? And it's like, no, this is a subcategory to the ultimate goal of ensuring justice, not only for the Black community, but for everybody who identifies as Black. And I would say it's been an interesting roller coaster ride, but I am adamant that unless we can address these issues, we will not see no type of solution anytime soon. And that goes also to that is more broader than the LGBTQ community. It's people who are in a socio-economic disadvantage. It goes to individuals that are in the corporate world. And there's so many areas that, or so many subcategories within our own category that we have to come up with some form of solution or consensus to ensure the ultimate goal of that racial justice and racial equity.
Yeah, I think, was that one of the like driving forces for you as part of your coming out to be engaged in public office, to like put yourself, you know, when I think of like people running for public office, you just put yourself out there. Like everybody finds out, they investigate everything they possibly can about you. So is that part of that like authenticity to yourself, but also to your future constituents, that, you know, you would, you know, you're going to be as authentic as possible?
Yeah, I mean, that I tell everyone, whether they're in District 5 or in Southeast or Southwest Missouri, I tell everybody, you're going to get the same Kendall Martinez-Wright you seen a few years ago. I make it a mandatory mandate to be as authentic as possible. The reason for that is because when you do not be authentic and you don't really, that can lead to situations where it is not going to be good. And so with me, I came out in June of 2020, and I was well had really good reception. I mean, very supportive. But at the same time, I had to dive deep, because even though I got good reception, I still have to be in a positive mindset because weightlifter often that area of concern, and that's where the public safety comes into effect, because now I am in a position to where I don't know whether or not to be a hermit, you know? And so I think that's where it comes from. And I truly believe that once people really hear my story and see not only this resilience in me, but at the same time, the passion for equal representation, I think that's what's going to help lead. There are individuals who don't identify me whatsoever, but they understand where I'm coming from, and they know that when you have voices and you have people that's not being equally represented, that becomes an issue. And so that's why from day one of me forming my campaign, I told my mom, I'll be as changed, and ever since then, the same.
Kendall, your audio was breaking up, so I'll have you. It was right when you said you were going to tell your mom. So I was like, if you'll repeat that section.
Okay. Yeah. So I told my mom that I want you to ensure that I am my full authentic self and hold that accountability to me. And ever since I told mom that, she be reminding me, trust and believe. She reminds me, and I realized that authenticity is natural. The only thing that isn't natural is faking it.
Right. It takes a lot more work to like put on that show than to just be yourself. Yeah, and it comes across like people, they pick up on that. They pick up on that authenticity, and either respect you for it or feel threatened by it. So there's power in being who you are and living your truth for sure.
Yeah, and I say I get more respect now than I did in the past, because not only am I being true to myself, but at the same time, people are seeing it and they are like, Kendall, you don't change for nothing. I don't care whether you are elected, win $1 million, actress. I want you to stay the same. And because when you showcase that authenticity, that's also showcasing your inner beauty.
Yes. So as an individual who has worked, I think you said like over a decade in government in some capacity, like how is it a little different for you now as you're like launching your political campaign, to run for office? Like, how has it shifted that narrative for
you? Yeah. So it is a huge change, that's for sure. I will say I can't even lobby. I'm not even able to lobby. So when I go to the Capitol now, I just represent myself. But I mean, overall, I still get treated with complete and utter respect. The people that I run into, from various representatives to senators to staffers, they all be like, hey, Kendall, what's up? Nothing has changed. Now, I will say that when it comes to certain issues, if I'm in that building, I'm quiet. But once I leave that building, that's when I let people know. And it is interesting because for so long I was on the, as they would say, the behind the scenes type. And now since I'm, jumping into this arena, it is different. I will say, at first I was very nervous because it's a type of thing where everybody's looking at you with a microscope and then some. And so you have to be so careful from what you say to even your facial expressions. Like, but it is it's different, but it's also the same. If you kind of feel where I'm going, like it is one of those things where you just have to kind of go along with the punches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think like you're still true to yourself. You're still gonna, champion the same policies and, in legislation that you would have supported, outside of office as in office. So yeah, I can see that, that part is still the same. It's just now there's like somebody who's always watching. Like there's always somebody who's like willing to like wants to take a video of you or pictures of you doing something, or so there's always that opportunity to be elevated, I guess, in the public eye as far as what people think about you, or to shift a narrative on yourself. When you're engaged in public office, like I think of like right now for Missouri, like the Senate postponed hearings for the HIV criminalization bill that are coming up. I think there's 3 different ones, but the House is still like they're doing theirs right now. Like as we're doing our show, they're having session right now and in discussion about the HIV criminalization bill. So what is your take on like that piece of legislation? Like the law has been in place since the 80s and it hasn't been updated, and these bills are just working to update those laws.
Yeah, it's what we need right now. The language is when HIV and AIDS first came into play, and there was not a lot of science data that was accurate. And so now more than ever, it needs to be changed. There is individuals out here that is literally spending time behind bars because of, I would say, petty crimes. They have a disagreement with their partner or whoever, that partner knows that they have HIV, and they get tried and they get sentenced. And so it is important that we update this language, because not only is HIV and AIDS is not a death sentence anymore. We have so many strides in science and research with the disease, and people are living longer, and they are pretty much living more healthier than me. So right now we need to focus. And I met former President Trump when it came to HIV eradication. He was spot on. I will be the first to say it. And because there has been so much research and so many strides that people who has this illness can breathe a sigh of relief, because it was only roughly 40 some years ago that HIV and AIDS was really discovered, and that, and people dying literally left and right every single second, pretty much, to people living full, healthy lives with medication, of course, as well as being undetectable and untransmittable. That's amazing. And we are stepping closer and closer to the soon to be not only cure, but eradication of these viruses. And so more than ever, Missouri needs to step up its game, change the language, make it not punishable for individuals living with HIV and AIDS, as well as update the language, update the scientific data. Right now in the statute, they still have saliva, feces, urine as possible transmittable ways to get it, the disease. And that's not even true. You'll have to drink over 8 million gallons of water or saliva that's filled in bathtubs to contract the disease, and most likely you still wouldn't get it. So we have to change these bills, this language. I am in full support. I've been working with both sides of the aisle to push it as much as possible, because we need these laws in place to have that ultimate goal.
I agree that that the stigma associated with HIV, and then you couple that with, now it's a criminal offense. So if I have it and I tell somebody, there's a potential that they could threaten me with a lawsuit and take me to jail, and take me to court, which would be in jail. Like, there is no defense under the Missouri statute for HIV criminalization. Like, there's no defense for you. You're guilty, and that's it. You go to jail. So with an update in the law, you would hope that people would be able to, release that stigma of knowing their status and getting tested, which is the goal to ending the transmission of HIV. Because if you know your status, then you can get medication. And if you can get medication, you can reach undetectable, untransmissible. So we stop that transmission flow.
Exactly.
Work, and I'm really glad that you are, gung-ho and knowledgeable on HIV and biomedical interventions and ways that we can, protect ourselves in our community. I think it's especially important this day and age, as a member of a marginalized community. Building on that, when you're thinking of these laws that need to be changed, and where there is systemic racism built into the systems, how do you approach that, or how would you approach that in your work, as a representative for Missourians?
Hold on, can you rephrase? Can you repeat that question?
So how for addressing racial justice and systemic racism that's built into, and I would say laws that have been on the books for, hundreds of, last 5 years, so looking at that through a lens of racial justice and eradicating systemic racism, how would you approach that, if you were elected, to be the representatives for District 5?
First off, I'll be completely transparent, and I will advocate as much as possible to push legislation through to alleviate the systemic racism and institutional racism. I am also the type of person that I can have those conversations with people that either don't agree with me or people that stand these are I'm advocating for nations to pass. There is a saying where, to those who don't know, the only way to know is to gain that knowledge. And so with me, I will let people know of not only the historical aspect of these current laws that's in place, but also let them know that with these pieces of legislation, or with this work I'm going to do, if I was to be representative, I'm going to change that to where we can truly be equitable, an equitable society, an equitable state. Because when people, especially Black and brown folks, they are still reaping the repercussions of laws that have been in place since the birth of this union. And so we have to fight not only to ensure our rights, but to also have these conversations with folks and let them know that nothing's going to change on their end The only thing that is really going to change overall is letting people know that racism has no place here. Racism is a detriment to society, and if we continue to allow it to overrule us, it's going to be the ultimate demise. So I think that's kind of what my approach is. I know, especially with my constituents, I'm going to have a lot of talks with them. But at the same time, I'm the type of person, I don't want to wait until it's the right time. The time is now, and people are uncomfortable. That's just too bad, because we need to have this talk. We need to have these feelings not only aired out, but at the same time addressed. Because if we don't address the issue now, when will we address it?
That's a perfect point. If we don't address it now, when are we going to do it? Yeah. If you don't start working on it now, you're just going to wait another 40 years, another 100 years, another age of oppression when we could have mitigated it. We could have worked to address it. I think you touched on something I really liked, where you said nothing changes for the individuals that aren't oppressed. Like, nothing changes for them. It only makes the world a better place for the marginalized, for the individuals that were oppressed. You know, by changing those laws, it makes it a better, more inclusive union, which you would think everybody would be on board with. This just seems so odd. Like, when you talk about it, like, why is it such a hard struggle?
And see, and what really gets me, and I'm not gonna lie, is some folks, they practice, you know, we are all one. Yes, that is true, but there's exceptions. We also have to acknowledge the diversity and the beauty of diversity, because my biggest pet peeves is when people say, I don't see color. I have a problem with that, because when you say that, you are choosing not to see it because you don't want to recognize the beauty of diversity. And we come from various areas of the globe, even though Black folks and Indigenous folks were severely negatively affected by it. But we come from all areas of the globe, and we are unique in our own way, and we have to learn how to truly understand the beauty of diversity, because if it wasn't for the diversity, we will not be where we are today. We will be a area of misery and to strife, because people want to try to be, do something different, but they can't. And so now more than ever, we not only have to showcase that, but we have to also acknowledge that, hey, look, when you see people with all shades, with all areas, because you never know. You could be in a situation, and that person from Iraq, or that person from China, or that person that is an atheist, or practicing Judaism, or a person of the LGBTQ community, or even the disabled community. We need to learn how to just appreciate the true grandeur of it.
I love that. It's the like that. It goes back to that the U.S. is the melting pot of the world. That this is a place where everybody can come and you know, would say I was one of those individuals that had those rose-colored glasses over, to the way America was, or the image that we portrayed ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as. And the last 4 years, for myself, has been like that awakening moment of this is, we have so much more work to do to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that we reach that dream. And
Mm-hmm.
the highlighting of hate speech and that freedom to persecute, really resonated as we have to change this. It's not
Mm-hmm.
okay to do that. It's better for everybody that we can work together and actually live up to those ideals as, the
Yeah.
melting pot of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So part of which is some of the stuff that we try to tackle here on Unbox is like those hard conversations, and we're
Yeah.
not going to solve anything here, but we're gonna normalize talking about it, or at least try to, so people can see that's part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So as a Black trans woman, you said that you are currently the head of the Democratic LGBTQ. I can't remember what you called it. I'm sorry.
So I'm the vice chair of
The
the
vice.
LGBTQ caucus for the Missouri Democrat Party.
So are you the first Black trans woman to be in that position?
Yes.
Well, congratulations. Part of this month is like Black History, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
we've been touching on KC, LGBTQ, like Black
Yeah.
history, but also making history. That's part of our history, is when we are actually living in the moments that we make. And you're a glass ceiling breaker. Like, you're making history for Black queer individuals. And I think you're the first Black trans woman to run for public office in Missouri, I believe, right?
Yes, I am.
So what does that feel like as being like a trailblazer? Like,
I admit, you don't, but I feel the same. I really wanted to really spotlight it. I just see it as like, especially when people be like, "Thank you for running," or "You are so inspiring." I'll say, I just want people to be represented and have their voices amplified. Um, I am the type of person, I am very humble, and I I am the type of person that also really wants to be that person of courage, um, courage, competency, and resilience. Um, I feel like when I first initially planned on running, I was very nervous because of such a huge step for me. Coming from, even though I was in the political realm, I was not a candidate beforehand. And now with me being a candidate, it is something that is a constant reminder of how impactful you can be, especially when it comes to what you say, what you do, your actions, any of that. You are placed on a pedestal that other folks would be either scared to go on or choose not to go on. And I see it as an honor, actually, to not only be a candidate, but at the same time, jumping into or leaping into this huge milestone. I think it's amazing because I tell everybody I am from the little town of Palmyra, Missouri. this little world girl would have never imagined being where I am at today. And it is a humbling experience, to say the least.
Well, I wasn't sure like what your response would be, jumping into like that, but I think your humbleness just came through, and I think the fact that you stand fast to uplifting voices and that intentional representation, that if you don't see someone who looks like you in that office or representing you, so you put yourself there and you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the person that I want to see representing you. So that's powerful. So congratulations. Just throwing your name in the hat is always like nerve-wracking in itself. So
yeah.
And I think you just launched like 2 days ago your campaign, right?
Yes, I sure did. I officially launched my Kendall for Missouri campaign for Missouri House District 5. I'm very excited. It was a wonderful, wonderful occasion. There were so many messages of not only support, but just lots of gratitude of what I'm doing. I think that is those two was just wonderful, flat out. I told everybody, like, with me doing this, I don't want no like extra pomp and circumstance. I just want to be able to, whether win or lose, I just want to be able to inspire at least one person.
That's powerful, yeah. And who knows, you may inspire dozens more. So that's so exciting. Putting yourself out there and letting people know that they can do it too. If you don't see somebody who looks like you in a position of power, then do what you can to put yourself in that position of power, and make a table, or add to the table so there's room for you as well. I think as we are coming up on the end of the hour, I want to touch on, you have an event coming up. Is it this Friday, I think, or is it the last Friday of the month? Or are you doing like town halls?
Yeah, so on February 28th, from 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock, I will be doing a virtual town hall on all things LGBTQ in rural Missouri. And what it is just a candid conversation with me and people from both rural and urban areas of Missouri. And the reason for that is because there was something that was going on at my former high school, as well as a few other schools, that was very concerning. And with me, I'm the type of person where I'm not going to sit back and be quiet about it. Oh no, I'm going to let people know, like, this ain't cool. This is not, we're not going to do this. So I decided to have this event just mainly due to having a really true, candid conversation. I don't, like, I want people to express their true feelings in a space and be able to also receive new information, education on things that are LGBTQ, because the internet can be a blessing and a curse. Mm-hmm. And I am adamant that until people really truly see where not only I am coming from, but people who identifies as LGBTQ are coming from, but really see the true magnitude of what is going on, because there's people, literally, there's people that think, oh, they're just doing everything for the LGBTQ community. That's not the case. Currently, in Missouri, a person can be denied housing, being trans or gay, or they could be denied services at any type of public entity due to them being LGBTQ. So it is a step. It is, tell this to myself, but it is a stepping stone to a grander and broad and more in-depth conversation. And hopefully people see where we are, not only where we are coming from, but at the same time, really truly understand that we are as equal as you and as the other person is, and that all we want is to ensure that we can live our same productive lives just like our counterparts do.
Exactly. I was just thinking, if you subtract hate and add love, there's no reason to like deny somebody access to anything. Like it always comes back to a level of hate and misunderstanding, or a lack of understanding. Well, I want to thank you, Kendall, for joining today, joining our viewers, for letting everybody know about you and what your goals and your aspirations are for District 5. I think that's so exciting that we have you to be in this state to represent us in this time. So thank you for putting your name out there and your face and sharing with everybody. And I think I encourage everybody to tune in to your town halls, to be a part of that. I mean, that's the most important thing, is that you can learn so much from the diverse community that we have across the state, from, like you said, the urban to the rural area. So I'll make sure that that is added in the comments below so that we have that for individuals to check out. Is there any last words, anything you want to share, especially like where people can find information out about you, donations, volunteer campaign, all that stuff?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, kendallformissouri.org, you will find everything from my platform to in my plans, to where you can donate money to the campaign, as well as volunteer opportunities. I am also on Twitter and Instagram. My username is at Kendall #4 MO, and that's for both Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. Well, Kendall, thank you. I know we're going to be reaching out to have you come back on, especially as we get closer to November. We want to keep the conversation going about elections and knowing who your candidates are and things like that. So we'll have you come back with a couple of other individuals who are running for public office as well. So thank you for joining us today. Everyone tune in on February 28th. Website, kendallformissouri.org. And in the meantime, hope everyone stays warm and stay masked. Bye. Thank you.